All right. So today on Jewish Baseball More Than a Game, we are thrilled to be joined by Jonathan de Marte, a standout athlete whose journey in baseball is as inspiring as impressive. Jonathan is an American Israeli professional pitcher who represents Team Israel on the international stage, a two-time New York State Gatorade Player of the Year in high school. He went on to pitch at the University of Richmond, building a strong foundation for his professional career. In 2018, Jonathan made the powerful decision to become a dual citizen in Israel, opened the door for him to compete internationally. He played a key role for Team Israel at the 2019 European Baseball Championship and the Africa/Europe 2020 Olympic qualifying tournament, helping the team earn its historic berth in 2020 Tokyo Olympics, where he also pitched. He later signed a minor league contract with the Chicago Cubs in 2020. Through the COVID pandemic, paused that chapter. Still, his commitment on both the baseball field and Jewish identity has remained front and center. We're excited to talk with Jonathan about his path through baseball, his connection to Israel and Judaism, and what it means to represent something bigger than the game. Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah. Danny Miles, thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk to you guys.
Yeah, this is really cool. I just want to jump right into it. One of my first questions to you is, where did your baseball journey begin? Who inspired you growing up? Whether it was your dad, whether it was a player you looked up to. Can you just take me through that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Just like I'm sure most people started playing at a really young age. Always like grew up a Yankees fan, diehard Yankees fan growing up. Like was going to games as young as I can remember. I was actually a huge Tino Martinez fan. Played some first base. Actually, a little bit more of a catcher growing up as well. Was a big Tino Martinez fan. Like I said, going to a ton of different Yankee games when I was younger. So yeah, been playing since a young age. And I think for me, I've said this before. I've played some other sports, and I feel like there is not much of it's very hard to compare the thrill that you get to having success on the ball field in other aspects of life or in other sports that I've played, in my opinion. So it's something that always led me to working harder and always wanting more in the game.
100%. I mean, being a Yankee fan and myself being from New York, watching the New York Yankees play baseball, like in the early 2000s, especially, just no better time to be alive in New York than there. I mean, it's all been all downhill from here, but I'm not going to get into that in this podcast. But, being from New York and being a two-time New York State Gatorade Player of the Year is crazy impressive. Can you kind of walk me through what it was like to be named the Gatorade Player of the Year and kind of how you handled that in high school? Because that is
Yeah.
a huge thing to take on in high school.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't really know the severity of it, especially when I won the award the first time. So this was my junior year. We made a run to the state semifinals, I believe. And sometime I think it was during the regionals, I first of all was told that I was nominated because there was some paperwork, some stuff I had to fill out. Didn't really know what it was, like had won a bunch of other awards already that year. So didn't think much of it. And then I remember, I think it was during the regional games, my high school coach told me that I had actually won and didn't like think much of it. Was more concentrated on winning, like moving on to states. I remember it really kind of popped out to me when they sent you like a bunch of stuff in the mail, and there's this book. I actually have it in here somewhere. And it has all past winners from other sports. And it's like Derek Jeter, Peyton Manning, all these crazy names. I think Marcus Stroman won the year before me in New York. I think it was him, or it might have been somebody in between. All these like incredible professional athlete names. So for me, it really did not hit until after the season. And I started actually like looking into this. But year two, when I won as a senior, we got upset and bounced in the first round of the playoffs my senior year, although we were number one in the state. So that was pretty
Mhm.
disappointing. But I guess the positive there was, I mean, didn't expect to win it again. And then looking back at the name, there were not many repeat winners. So it was really cool to kind of see my name there twice next to all of these, big time famous professional athletes. So yeah, it really was something that I think also led to after having the success that I had the first year, that first junior year, when I had won it, I think that brought a lot more attention and kind of opened up more doors with like scouts, people from front offices coming to see me pitch that next year. So it was both exciting and opened up a lot of doors for me.
I think that's so cool. I think it's so cool. Like you have that experience, and like these really cool experiences, and it really shapes you as a ball player. And
Mhm.
then fast forward, and now you're pitching for Team Israel. So between everything that you've accomplished and your work ethic and being a part of Team Israel, How much does that mean to you right now? I'm sure it's,
Yeah.
you, like a lot of people, like us included, probably feeling some sort of emotion with everything that's been going on the past 2, 3 years and the current events that are taking place.
Yeah, absolutely. It is something that I am so proud to do. Just being asked to do this, like, hey, somebody's going to help you get your citizenship here. You're going to become Israeli. Being Jewish is part of your, part of your identity growing up, and you have the opportunity to represent this. When you're playing for Team Israel, not only are you representing Jewish people all over the world, you're obviously representing Israelis. So that encompasses so many more people than you imagine. So it's something that for me, it kind of tying this all together for me, my career kind of in college, I was injured most of my college, especially the first 4 years. It like felt like everything was kind of falling apart baseball wise. And then all of a sudden, my last year and a half, 2 years, things went much better. Had the opportunity to start playing independent ball and started having more and more success. So it was like, up here in high school, down here, then making my way back up. And yeah, the real list to things getting better post college was getting my citizenship. I completed a full year. First year was a half a year in independent ball after the college season, completed a full year. And then at the end of that year, it's like, I got traded to the Atlantic League. And then a few days later, I hopped on a plane, went to Israel and got my citizenship. And it was an amazing journey to be a part of from there. I'm sure we'll get into this more, but, I made this trip. I meet 9 or 10 strangers on that trip. We're all making Aliyah together. And these are all guys that like have played a huge part in my life and become really close friends of mine since then. So yes, wearing that jersey, representing Israel is something that talk about any awards aside, that is the most important thing I've ever done on the baseball field.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And, just kind of hearing you talk about, high school, college, then indie ball, and then playing for Team Israel, what do you think was the biggest, I guess not the biggest, but the hardest transition? Was it from high school to college? Was it from college to indie ball? Was it from indie ball? Then you go to international stage and you're playing, you could be playing MLB vets.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
what was the hardest for you?
it's a good question. Great success or just like sheer performance wise, it was definitely high school to college, but I also never pitched healthy. Even in the little bit that I pitched my sophomore year, my junior year, like my arm was never okay. There was always some nagging issue, some sort of pain. I never had like the whip and the zip behind my ball that I had in high school, and then again my last year of college and beyond. So, so it's kind of hard to say that because I think that was due to the physical side and due to discomfort due to injury. Um, it was I never forget this. I remember talking to my brother who worked in the Los Angeles Angels front office, and as soon as I first outing or two in indie ball, I was like, wait, this is like a different sport. The game, when you're on the field as you go up in levels, everything is so much faster. It might not necessarily be pitch to pitch, but when the ball is put in play, everything happens so much faster. Fielders catch and throw quicker. They turn double plays quicker. They get the ball into you quicker. Everything is like a step more, like, is a little bit more crisp. Yes, do hitters in the college level or the high school level have the best like approaches or plans? No, but as you go up in levels, guys are very selective. Like I remember his first few indie ball outings, it's like, all right, no one knows who I am when they're facing me. There's probably no real scouting report. And like I've never seen so many guys that just like have the bat on their shoulder and seeing a pitch or two, and that kind of rattles you on the mound when someone's just standing there with the bat on their shoulder. I got used to it and learned that that was pretty normal, but at first it was like college hitters aren't disciplined enough to do that. So I think going from college to indie ball was a huge jump. So I'm sure guys who go from like a mid-major college right to affiliate ball experience even more of a jump.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. How hard were you throwing before, like the before injury in high school, and then kind of like when you say you didn't have the zip on it, like, how hard? Because, you know, like the experienced hitter, right? I mean, like for the average person, 95 to 93 is like, oh, that's not that big of a jump, but it's a huge jump. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. People would do anything to get those 2 miles an hour. Yeah, so high school, I mean, I ranged. It was my junior year anywhere from like 87, 88 to 92, 93. I think I topped 94 my junior year. My senior year, I remember pitching in an event at Yankee Stadium where I topped at 95, and this was right before going to college. I'll never forget this. My first fall. So I had three outings in the fall of my freshman year at Richmond, and then my elbow started bothering me. I never pitched again. Like had surgery, missed the entire year. But I think outing one was like 91, 93. Outing two was like 88, 92. Outing three is like 86, 89. And then you're honestly, the same thing happened to an extent my sophomore year. It was always like 88, 92. And then once something would happen, velocity would dip. Junior year, even slower. Or my rotator cuff. I was like obscure guy before COVID. So I played throughout grad school. I was one of those like 23-year-old, 22-year-old, 23-year-old seniors, grad seniors, when everyone else was, you know, 21, 22, 20, 21,
Yeah.
22. So I was one of those older guys. And that year, I sat more like 91, 93, up to 94 out of the bullpen, developed a really plush changeup, and had a lot of success. And that's kind of what led to indie ball.
That's incredible. And I'm sure that there's guys that you have kind of gone through the systems with, and they've had, I don't know if similar stories. I know every baseball journey is different, but like I'm always curious. Is that jump from being a starter to being a solid reliever, is that difficult? Because I know it's a little bit more of a different mentality in terms of coming into a situation, whether there's guys on base or if you're asked to close a game out, and it's if you guys only have maybe a 1 or 2 run lead, and now you're facing the top to the middle of the order. Now you got to try to take care of these hitters. What is that mindset change like? Is it big or is it different?
Yeah, I mean, I think going from reliever to starter is probably a bit more challenging. The thing that I didn't really struggle with the transition in college. The thing that I did struggle with was the ability to bounce back. I was absolutely terrified to throw the first time an independent ball on back-to-back days. And then when you do that and you look up and you see your velocity on the second day in a row, it's like, well, I still touched 95 2 days in a row. Like that gives you the confidence to know that you are fine and you can throw on back-to-back days.
Mhm.
But I will never forget this. So I had 4 surgeries in college. My 6th year when I was playing the infield and pitching, my college coach, I threw in like a Sunday and we were playing in midweek, I think Tuesday at James Madison. And my college coach played in the big leagues. And he was very supportive of me throwing whatever I wanted to. Like, we don't want you to get hurt. We don't want to push this. Like, you will gradually build you up a little bit every week. So maybe you can go more than an inning or two out of the pen. I think I threw like 1+ or 2 innings on a Sunday. And he wanted me to go get ready at James Madison. And I was like terrified. I was like, I can't, like, I'm only supposed to pitch. Like, we agreed just once a week for now. If you shoot me out in the dugout, like, you think you can play professional baseball? You can't pitch twice in 1 week with a lot more words mixed in there and like screaming at me in front of everybody. And I was like, honestly, like that was one of those moments where I was like, you know what? I deserve that. Like he's trying to push me and give me an opportunity to throw in front of more scouts, to throw against a quality lineup. Like just do it. And I think the next week is when I started to throw more than once in a week during that college season. So I thank him for kind of giving me that push and making me realize like, hey, you want to play at the next level, it's not going to happen if you don't do this.
Nothing like a good, the old coach yelling at you in front of everybody.
Hey, there's, you know what? There are times for it, I think.
100%. Sometimes it's so warranted. Other times it's like, okay. Like you got to find that's the difference between a good coach and not a good coach. Like finding those moments to be like, all right, when can I push this guy? When can I
Yeah.
see it and just like turn something in him that makes him better? And just kind of going off of the different levels of the game, starting, relieving. So when we've asked this question a lot, but everyone's answer is very different. When you go play internationally and you played indie ball, what are the biggest differences you see, not only fan wise, but also, the game? Because it could be different.
Yeah, it's a good question. And Miles, I realize I don't think I fully answered your question about switching from starting to relieving because I got into
No,
the
it's totally
back-to-back
fine.
days piece. But yeah, so in indie balls, it's like, I mean, look, I never played affiliate ball. I signed a contract with the Cubs. I didn't get to play because of COVID. I'm sure we'll get into that. So I can't speak from experience. I've of course viewed many of minor league games and have a lot of friends that have done it. But big difference between indie ball and international. I think indie ball is more like affiliate ball where it's more of like, yes, everybody, we're all competitors. We're professional athletes. We want to play to win. that's the ultimate goal. But at the end of the day, in independent ball and affiliate ball, you're playing for yourself. Indie ball, you're trying to get a better opportunity. You're trying to sign an affiliate contract. When you're in affiliate ball, you are trying to work your way up and make it to the big league. So it's more of playing for yourself, but obviously still competing. International it was the most fun ever. Every game you play to win. Every game you're trying to beat the crap out of the other team. Like there's some sort of meaning behind every single game. And hey, let's say it's a console. We were never in this situation. Something where it's run differential that will end up maybe being a tiebreaker to advance you to the next round of the tournament. So you might be up big, but you're going to keep pouring runs on because you need to have a greater advantage with the run differential. So it's just the difference is you're always playing to win. Danny, to answer that question, fans wise, I mean, I can share one cool fan instance on the international side, but it's not even anything compared to indie ball. I mean, I played in independent ball games where there's thousands of like screaming fans. I remember playing in Joliet on July 4th, and the place was like sold out with every single piece of grass and standing room filled, and it was one of the biggest crowds I've ever played in. Um, International ball, I mean, most people are not traveling. When we went in 2019, when we qualified for the Olympics, one of the rounds was in Germany. And we played the night game against Germany under the lights there. And there were and decent amount maybe means a few hundred, but when you're at these like smaller fields without stadium seating, it feels pretty rowdy and really pretty intense. So the cool part was like we were the away team. They had all the fans. We had some parents and families that traveled with us. But this was so cool. The German team, because it was on their field, they played walk-up songs for them, but also in almost, I guess I've never been to a banana ball game, but I guess it's like that. Like in between pitches, they're blasting music. So like I throw ball one or strike one, immediately when the catcher catches it, like music is blasting. And it really keeps like it fired me up on the mound. I loved it.
Yeah, I bet.
So that was a unique experience. But besides that, I mean, there was nobody in the stands when we played in the Olympics. So yeah, not nothing in Australia. Sorry, when I played in Australia, we got a decent crowd at Perth.
That's awesome. I love international ball. I played in Germany. I played in Switzerland, and
Oh yeah.
one of the coolest experiences ever. I have a lot of love for playing in Europe, so that's why I love talking to all of you and hearing your experiences.
Yeah. Where were you in Germany?
Yeah, so I played in Nuremberg. I played in Nuremberg.
Okay.
I was studying in Switzerland at the time, and so I was able to play with the Swiss national team as well. So we played against France and Germany. It's a couple of teams from Africa. It was one of the coolest experiences ever.
Wow, nice. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So earlier and I think this is kind of switching gears a little bit. Earlier you talked about your journey to making Aliyah. Was it 9 other people that you knew?
I think my trip had 10 guys total.
10 guys total. Can you kind of talk about that? Because I think you sort of alluded to that. That's a cool story, right?
Yeah. So I got a call. I guess I can kind of, this is, I think, noteworthy to share. Danny, who obviously Eric Holtz. So I'll kind of backtrack here. I'm playing independent ball in Normal, Illinois, and our manager asks us, "Hey, who here wants to play winter ball?" And I was like, I do, and I want to play for the Israeli national team. He was like, okay, I'll work on that. I thought he was totally joking. Our manager was really good friends with Gabe Kapler, who was previously involved with Team Israel. I guess he made a call. Somehow that went to somebody else. That went to Eric Holtz. The next morning, we were on the road, I think in Southern Illinois. No, we were in Gateway. We were in East St. Louis, and I get a call the next morning from Holtz. He's like, "Hey, Johnny, like, I don't know if you know who I am, but I know you. Like, you're my son's age. I didn't know you were playing baseball still and like healthy again. And by the way, I grew up watching you play because you're the same age as my son Jordan. Like, if you're healthy and you want to do this, we would love to have you." And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? This happened so quickly. And he was basically like, you have to get your Israeli citizenship. It's going to be a bit of a process. Like, you'll start working on it this summer, and then they're planning a trip for you guys later on this year. So as soon as the season ended, I ended up getting traded that year to the York Revolution in the Atlantic League after the Frontier League finished. So I played a few weeks there. few days later, hopped on a plane to Israel. And I knew that I was going to meet some of these guys. Like I knew some names. Like, I knew who Alex Katz was playing baseball in New York, going to St. John's, playing in the World Baseball Classic. So I was told that I was traveling with Alex. JFK, I believe it was. Katz is there. We hit it off. We talked the entire flight. He was a good friend of mine to this day. I was definitely a little intimidated because I was, I think, one of 2 or 3 people on this trip who was not playing affiliate ball. I was playing indie ball. One guy was working in the Rays front office that played college ball, and then another guy was actually working for Goldman Sachs. So, like, the 3 of us were not playing affiliate ball. So, definitely a little bit intimidated by that. But this was the greatest group of guys. So, we spent 10, I can't remember if it was like 2 weeks or what, on the 10 of us in a large Airbnb doing every activity together every single day, like sightseeing, showing us like historical spots. There was this really cool like graffiti tour we did where there was a Sandy Koufax mural painted there in Tel Aviv. Obviously, the whole citizenship process, some other really cool activities. But these guys, like I said, became some of my best friends. And most all of that group played together in the qualifiers. And then a handful of that group went on to our training camp and the Olympics together. So these are guys that I spend a lot of time with and worked with some of them after baseball. Spent a lot of during off seasons and different times while playing baseball. So it opened up, even just from that friendship standpoint, it opened up a lot of doors.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you kind of talk to, for the listeners maybe who don't know, what it's like to be with a group of guys that kind of just are all Jewish and kind of just you just kind of vibe off being Jewish at first, because as you
Yeah.
said, you came from very many different backgrounds, like affiliate ball, not affiliate ball, front office work, but at the end of the day, you all have the one common thing of being Jewish. So you kind of just
Yeah.
touched on how that, affected the team, maybe, like getting to know guys and also like the locker room, because I'm sure that was
Yeah.
a whole nother animal in itself.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely opens up for a lot of like internal inside jokes that we can all connect on and kind of vibe to. But yes, it was said this before. It was really cool to be on a baseball team where there's two common denominators. Number one, we all are Jewish or have some sort of Jewish background. Number two, we're all here for a greater goal and we're trying to win and qualify for the Olympics. Those two themes right there developed such an intense sense of camaraderie between everybody. It felt like we had all known each other and played baseball together for many years prior. So being on having that similarity, that background, like that deeper connection and understanding, it also made for like initial conversation and getting to know one another. Yes, we reflected on our baseball backgrounds, where we went to college, but we also got to connect on like, were you bar mitzvahed? Where were you? Reform synagogue, conservative, Orthodox? How was your upbringing? So I think 1 or 2 guys on that trip, family in Israel that they saw prior to that trip. So learning about everyone's like unique Jewish background and upbringing was something that it wasn't just like asking these questions to make small talk. It was like, I'm genuinely interested in learning about what your path to here was. So yeah, I mean, in the dugout, it developed this really tight connection. Outside of games, when we're in the middle of nowhere, Lithuania, trying to bond together in this hotel with absolutely nothing to do. I mean, the conversation was endless, and this was the smartest group of baseball guys I've ever been around. I remember the conversation, like when we would be traveling around in the vans together. Sometimes it was like from like a Jewish history perspective. Like I grew up going to a Reform synagogue here in Yorktown Heights. The conversation was so far over my head and so different at times. I was just like a fly on the wall. Like this is so interesting to learn from these guys who grew up in these large Jewish communities in California, where like
Mhm.
I never experienced that. And Danny, growing up in northern Westchester, I mean, there's pockets, but it's not like central or southern Westchester. There's not many of
No,
us up here.
not at all. It's very different up there. And, just even what you said then, it's kind of like like Briarcliff, like where I'm originally from is like, yeah, there are Jewish people there. There's like a nice sized Jewish community, but nothing over the top. So, like you're saying, like when people tell me about all these great Jewish experiences that they had when they were younger, I'm like, I don't have anything like that. And it kind of makes me a little sad that I don't have anything like that to relate to, because I think it would have been really cool. And like, I missed out on a lot because of it, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I 100% agree with you.
I'm curious that when it comes to when it came to that experience, just from the process of you, I'm not even the process, but like that whole experience with you and these guys traveling trying to accomplish one goal. And you said that these are some of the smartest baseball guys you've ever been around. And maybe you already kind of answered this, but how did that sort of, impact your baseball mentality going forward? I'm sure like having this experience with those guys and picking their brains, I'm sure that there are things that you took away from that are probably sticking with you to this day and have had such a positive, impact on your playing.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, for one, it opened up my baseball network to like the
Yeah.
other side of the country and then
Hmm.
everything in between. But it was also like, hey, these guys are doing it, so can you. Not from the sense of, I mean, think about like we had John Moscott, Zach Weiss, Blake Galen, Joey Wagman, these guys that were playing at such a high level at the time. But it was like, hey, these guys have been injured. These guys who all had struggling backgrounds. Some of these guys can pitch at a velocity that's slower than mine, but they command all their other pitches really well. Like, you can do it. Like, it gave me the confidence of, hey, it goes back to what we said before, that like connecting theme, like we all have this Jewish background, so it makes you feel closer to them. And it was almost inspiring to have their support from the start. We're all like sharing videos for like, okay, like I see you walking, I see you talking, but we're in Tel Aviv. I've never seen you throw a baseball before. Like, what does it look like when you throw a baseball? And I remember one or two guys when they were asking about like my background, because it was very unique spending all this time in college and then you're having success in indie ball and you find this opportunity. They're like, we can't picture you throw, like show us videos. And I would show them videos like with velocity to 96, 97 in games and some stuff that I'm showing them. And they're like, wait, you've never played affiliate ball? Like, what did you do wrong? Like, did you get in trouble? Did something like what's the red flag here? So there was a lot of support on top of it. Like some of those guys made some calls for me and reached out to people to have some guys come see me pitch, where a lot came from it. Being a part of this group, I mean, I guess this is interesting and noteworthy to share. When I signed with the Cubs, Craig Breslow was the one who signed me. Like him and Jason McLeod from the Cubs, they were both. I think Craig was an assistant, one of the assistant GMs at that point. He's learned about my successes from someone with Team Israel. I don't know if it was one of the coaches or one of the players. And then he wanted to see me throw. So he personally, I mean, I've thrown for a lot of teams before, and you get a scout. Sometimes you get somebody a little higher up. But he was a front office guy who blocked out this in the bullpen, and he's ultimately the one that signed me with the Cubs. That connection, my name getting out there, comes from Team Israel. That just didn't come from winning the Gatorade Player of the Year. So yeah, I think inspiring is definitely the major takeaway from a baseball standpoint on that trip. It's inspiring from the sense of we're all going to get together again next year and we're going to try to qualify for the Olympics.
That'll be exciting. I'm excited to also, see the upcoming Euros, and because, the trend now is, and even the World Baseball Classic, I mean, Israel's in some competitive groups. I mean, they've given you guys I view it as, I don't know, like, how do you view that? Because, I mean, if I view it as a fan, like, that's a compliment. They think very highly of you just to throw you into the fire and see what you guys can do. Because, I mean, you're playing some of the top teams in the world in just the bracket play. Or not
You're
just
talking about
play.
the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And I think even the Euro bracket's not easy either. I think you guys got like the Netherlands and Spain, I believe, too. Like some of the Britain too. Like some of the top countries. Like, how do you view that as
Yeah.
Because I feel like range. I feel like you'd be mad that they put us in a really hard, or you'd be like, all right, you know what, fuck it, we're going to play. We're going to win every game. I feel
I think
like
it was more of the latter. Yeah, it was more like F it, like we're going to play to win. Now, I can't speak to the World Baseball Classic side. When COVID shut things down, I was supposed to play in that next WBC. Then it got pushed back a few years, and I was like, oh my God, I hope I stay healthy for a few years. I want to do this, but it's far fetched, and I have a lot more to do before the next World Baseball Classic. So I didn't compete in that, unfortunately. But yeah, I was shocked. What year? What was it? What year was it? 2022, the last one, or 23? 22?
23.
Bracket, Nicaragua being the lowest named country in that was just insane. But hey, you want to compete with the best, you want to be the best. Like we've put ourselves on the map, both from the previous World Baseball Classic and then the whole Olympic run. Like that's where we belong. So yeah, is that probably a little bit like, well, why are we in that? Like we have to go get through Puerto Rico, like Venezuela. We have to get through all these top countries just to advance in the WBC. But at the end of the day, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. we belong there and we need to work through there. The Euro side, yeah, I mean, I can speak to that. And we started in a tournament in Bulgaria, and we're playing against like the Ireland national team, the Russian national team, the Greek national team. The Russian national team was really good. And then we had to beat them twice to move out of there. But then after we won the tournament in Lithuania, like, hey, the next one is the Netherlands. We all know players who have come from there. You're playing against the Italian national team. You're playing against Spain, Great Britain, all those that you mentioned. Germany, it was another one. They were really good. So yeah, moving on and knowing that there were on each team a handful of big leaguers who were going to play in those events was like, all right, the competition is going to step up here quite a bit, which it did. But we also added some quality pieces to our team as well. That
One of gosh, this is so cool. I love getting into this stuff. One of my final questions is before I ask it, I just wanted to say that it's so cool hearing you talk and getting your perspective on your journey and the places you've traveled, the teams that you've played for, the people you've met. I think it's just all just so great for, I don't know, any young person who's like a younger version of you, right? Who's gonna
yeah,
probably may go through the same journey of playing indie ball and signing with affiliated ball, and then things happen, right? But still getting a great opportunity and having a great career like you. My question to you is just from everything you've experienced, what is some of the advice that you've given or advice you can give to a young Jewish ball player that wants to aspire to do literally what you're doing right now?
yeah. Invest in yourself. I mean, whether you're Jewish or not, you come from another background, you want to
Yeah.
represent that country, you want to play at a high level, you have
Mhm.
to invest in yourself and take a look in the mirror and understand what are the areas that you have for improvement. Because the game is really good. The game gets faster as you go up in levels, like we talked about, and you need to constantly be improving and developing if you want to have success in this game. No matter what, not everybody rolls out of, not everyone has Aaron Judge, light tower power, or is Bryce Harper growing up. Like you do, every single athlete should look in the mirror and understand what they need to do to improve. And if you really want to play at a high level like this, you need to love it because there's a lot of time and a lot of tedious, repetitive work that goes into baseball, and your needs, your areas for improvement might change over time. So it's also looking in the mirror, but then reevaluating yourself. Now that I've improved here and I'm doing better here, what's next? Like, what do I need to do so that there's nothing holding me back? Because, hey, you guys have worked some of these Israel baseball showcases. I mean, how many people are there who have some sort of Jewish background that could represent Israel in the World Baseball Classic or in these Euro championships? Like, it's not easy to get your citizenship and be fortunate enough to be chosen to go through that process. So you need to set yourself apart if you want to make that happen. There's out of however many Jewish baseball players there are, there's only so many spots where you can represent Team Israel. So you got to set yourself apart. Speaking of that, Danny, I don't know if I told you this. I might have, and I think it's noteworthy for this conversation. I'm actually going to be the pitching coach for the U23 team in Czech Republic this summer. So I'll be at the U23 Euros later on this summer. I'm very excited to put the jersey back on.
Yeah, I do remember you telling me that, and congratulations, because that's going to be awesome. And, I think my last question for you is, would be one, actually, I have two. Overall in baseball, like growing up, I know you said Tina Martinez was a big role model, but do you have any other players that, since you're a pitcher too, that you model your game after? Or you model going out there and pitching after?
Yeah, these are a few I can say at different times I really modeled based on like where I was at. When I was younger, when I was in high school and I started pitching again, and I did, wish I didn't lose it. I thought like it's healthy curve. So I would throw a spike curve, and I learned that from seeing videos of Mike Mussina talking. I had that for a few years and lost it. So there's a period of time where I really liked him. He does like a little hop at the end of his like delivery. I also mimic that. Although knowing what I know now, I don't think that was like the most efficient way to decelerate and end your throw. But that was one I loved watching. This is random in the like 2007 He was there for longer than that. AJ Burnett, I absolutely love the way he competed. And when he was on, his stuff was some of the nastiest in baseball. And then when I really started to improve in the end of college and early in pro ball, I actually watched a lot of Joe Kelly videos. I had a really short arm action and kind of like made it shorter when I came back and was playing the infield as well. So I really liked to watch the way that he moved on the mound.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more about, especially the AJ Burnett and, because I remember watching him when I was younger. Like when he was on, you're like, man, no one can hit this guy. Then when he was off, you're like, okay, like get him out of the game. Just like stop, like get him out. I don't even want to see him pitch right now. But, I
It
guess
made no sense when he would get it. It made no sense when he's so gross.
my second and final question, just, this is coming to you as a coach. A pitcher struggling on the mound, you call timeout. What do you say to him?
Yeah, I kind of learned that one on the fly. I remember my first mound visit, like I never coached a team. I've done all the off-season private group training and stuff like that. This was my first year coaching a team, and I loved it. I remember the first time going out there for a mound visit, like my heart was racing probably more than any players. Like I don't, every coach has said something different. Everyone has a different sort of demeanor. The biggest thing that I would do on my mound visits was like instill positivity, like remind them of the success that they've had, remind them of the good pitches that they've made. So I think number one, it's like you always have this where you can tell they're thinking about something, you're letting someone affect them, and you try to like more so fire them up a little bit. And then really the other one is like crack a joke or say something that's totally unrelated to get a smile out of them, to get them to relax and show that like you're not upset. I remember playing for so many coaches growing up who would raise their voice. They kind of call you out, make you feel like lesser than, or make you feel really small. And I made it my mission to make sure I never made someone feel that way, whether they had walked 2 or 3 guys in a row or they were getting absolutely wrecked on the mound. Make them feel comfortable, because there's no more lonely feeling than being on the mound and not being able to find a zone or getting hit.
100% agreed. 100% agreed. I think that's probably the worst feeling, other than being a stand-up comedian, no one laughing at your jokes. That's probably a second.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think about golf. Like if I shrunk a shot, I'm like, could you imagine there was like thousands of people here watching me do this?
Oh my God. I'm terrible at golf, so I understand what you're saying. Even pros, like when they shank, like imagine like being a fan, like almost getting drilled by that. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. But thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And, love to have you back on maybe, after the U23 Euros to kind of talk about the experience and kind of, how your first pitching coach, how your first career tournament as a pitching coach went, because I'm very excited to hear about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Danny Miles. Thank you for doing this. I think it was a fun conversation, and I would be happy to do it again and fill you guys in on how that whole experience goes.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.